Hello and welcome to Recharge Wrestling. We are here to plug you in to the world of professional wrestling. And I'm Keeney. And today I am going to give a quick rundown and review of AEW Dynamite from this week. So don't do a lot of AEW content, but want to get a bit out there as we've got All In at Wembley coming up. And AEW's a great show. It's really picked up recently, so I think it's worth speaking about. And I mean, the big angle from this week was the turn of Don Callis, which shocked me. I think it's kind of been hinted a little bit, but for him to come down to his steel cage match main event of Jon Moxley v Kenny Omega with the Blackpool Combat Club, the Elite, their little battle they've been having. Little battle, big battle. I mean, incredible main event, as you'd expect. Like, those two going one-on-one, realistically, is not going to be below a 4-star match ever, because they're just two of the best professional wrestlers on the planet. And an absolutely amazing match. So many brutal spots. We saw broken glass, barbed wire chair come out early on. A V-trigger through the cage, which obviously opened the door for Don to walk through. And one winged angel by Kenny Omega hit on Moxley for Don Callis to then break the pin up and stab Omega in the face with a screwdriver. Really incredible ending, and just furthers this story very well, I think. Now, obviously, the question is whether Don Callis is with the Blackpool Combat Club. I would hazard a guess he probably is. It makes a lot of sense if he is, because he's been trying to get the best out of Kenny, and that's kind of been the same MO of the Blackpool Combat Club. We heard Danielson on commentary saying Omega's amazing, but he's not in the right group, and he's he could be better, and we're not seeing the best of Omega, and that's kind of what Don Callis has been saying as well. So actually, both of their mission goals kind of align quite well. So I think Don Callis joining the Blackpool Combat Club is makes complete sense and is huge for this story, and just adds so much extra heat onto that match, which will come at the next AEW pay-per-view, which I don't think is All In. There's one before that. But yeah, just a great main event and a great angle. Now, I think, by the way, Bryan Danielson on commentary was phenomenal. Like, absolutely pitch. I loved it at the end. He's just laughing. He's like, I had no idea. Again, whether he did, whether he didn't, I don't know. But he's just so good. He doesn't often put down his competitors. He just hits the right spot. He just gets professional wrestling. Bryan Danielson did amazing here. Like I say, some sick spots. The broken glass in particular really made me. I always react quite badly to the screwdriver to the forehead. That always gets me a bit. But yeah, great main event. But it wasn't just the main event why this show was really good. Dynamite, actually. We opened with the double Jeopardy match, Claudio Castagnoli v Rey Fénix, and again this is quite an interesting stipulation. One of them's going to get a shot at one other belt. In the end, it was again a great match. Okay, I almost feel like these things don't need to be said, but I will just say it in case. Great match, Rey Fénix and Claudio Castagnoli. Again, two of my favorite AEW stars. Honestly, they're so good. Great match, and a win for Claudio. So he now gets a tag team title match. It's the AEW World. Is it AEW or is it? I don't think it is AEW. Sorry, the website has claimed it's an AEW. It's a Ring of Honor tag team title champion, Rey Fénix. So we're going to get a tag team title match. I'd assume Wheeler Yuta and Castagnoli. That makes most sense, but whether it could be Danielson or Mox. Well, I feel like they're kind of involved in bigger things. So surely Wheeler Yuta, which will be another great match, probably at the next Ring of Honor show. I don't think they've announced when that is. So that was brilliant. And just something else in this show as well, because AEW World Tag Team Champions, FTR, also were involved. They come out to respond to the challenge of Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. And basically agreed to the match. Mark Briscoe come down, walked in front of the microphone, obviously back and forth with Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal and all that lot. And Mark Briscoe basically said he would be the special guest referee for that match, which I think is the right way to go with this one. I think it's been really well built up with Mark Briscoe in the middle, with two like genuine friendships he has, and they're using, FTR are being above board and fair and proper, but Lethal and Jarrett are using Mark Briscoe to get FTR. So I think it's a really interesting fitness match, and obviously which way Mark Briscoe goes, I guess is up for debate, but surely he has to lean towards the face. You can't have Mark Briscoe heel at the moment. With everything that's gone on, just this past year with Mark Briscoe, like the crowd will not boo him. So I feel like he will eventually help FTR to retain. It was been a really enjoyable TV feud. I've really enjoyed all of this stuff, especially, was it last week or the week before when they went to the farm, Mark Briscoe's farm, Lethal and Jarrett, just really good. Really entertaining comedy, and those guys are very good heels, and I'm amazed actually with how good Jeff Jarrett has been, to be honest with you. Very impressed. Like, see someone, when I heard he was back on AEW TV, I was like, nah, come on. Jeff Jarrett in 2023, but fair play to him, and he's having matches as well, so he's doing very well for himself. We also had promos throughout the night from the Four Pillars leading up to their match with the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. All four of them on the mic, good. MJF standout as is expected, and I think there's also a standout in terms of, in my opinion, feels a bit out of his depth on the mic and in kind of the build for a world title picture, and that is Jungle Boy. I feel like he feels a little step behind the rest. I think Guevara and Darby Allin are both, top tier. They're doing a good job. I actually thought Darby Allin's promo in particular was really good. But I feel like those two are doing really well. MJF's like a couple of levels above because he's just that good. And I just feel like Jungle Boy's a level below. I feel like there's a reason they put Christian Cage with him when Christian Cage first came into the company. I feel like Jungle Boy is always going to struggle to get over on his own, and something he needs to work on. The good thing for Jungle Boy is he's young, and in ring he is phenomenal. And like this four-way match build is probably my favorite thing in wrestling right now. I really think it's been built amazingly. I love the Guevara MJF like friendship that we had. I loved the ending of that tag team match last week where Darby Allin breaks up a pin, knowing that he's actually with the coffin drop, knowing that he's also going to hit Jungle Boy. So it's like, I'm breaking up the pin, but I'm also going to injure my teammate who will be my opponent at the pay-per-view. So really, really good build. Like I say, a really good story that I feel like was always going to happen. As soon as they announced there's four pillars, or not announced, but when it was on TV, there's four pillars of AEW. At some point, they were going to do something with that. They were going to have a four pillars match. That was probably always going to happen, and it could have been built a lot worse than it has. I think it's been near on perfection. I guess the only problem is, right now, I don't think anyone is believably beating MJF for that title. So I think that's the only thing not making it like perfect, but it's close to perfect. And the problem is with MJF, his title reign, I don't think he should lose it yet, and I don't think I don't think the company would be thinking about having him lose it yet. Maybe they're waiting for Punk to come back or whatever Moxley or Omega do after this feud. You know, there's a lot of options, but yeah, just be nice to have one of these. I would like at some point in the build-up, one of these guys, one of the three, to beat and pin MJF in the build-up. Then you think, well, okay, MJF is beatable, and there's, you know, it'd just be quite a nice visual to have before the build. And maybe we'll get that in time. There's still a bit of time to go. And something else on this show, which happened twice. So we saw Miro come in, walk to Tony Khan's office and shut the door. Then we had Thunderstorm return. Trying to figure out. And she essentially walks into Tony Khan's office as well. And then Tony Khan, in classic Tony Khan fashion, does a big announcement to declare that he's going to have a big announcement next week. So he's announcing his announcements now, which is next level Tony Khan. But there's a lot of rumors, and probably more than rumors at this point, but strong feelings that there's going to be a second brand in AEW. And I think that's what his announcement's going to be next week, which is a huge announcement. I don't think you need to pre-announce it. And it's also a bit ruined by all of Tony Khan's previous announcements, which have meant very little. I feel like he should come on TV very rarely to announce stuff. And when he does, it's big. Like kind of like Triple H in WWE, although a couple of his recent announcements have been a bit, you know, Triple H came out the other week and said everything's fine. So, well, okay, I don't think you need to come out and say that. So I think that this is huge to have two brands, whether they introduce, I mean, they don't need to introduce new belts because there's enough belts in AEW. I think having one world champion, maybe you have TBS on one, TBS on one, women's on the other. You have, maybe you do something with the tag belts or create another, I don't know, tag on one, trios on another. There's, you know, international on one, TNT on another. There's a lot you can do, and you just have one main champion. I don't think introducing another main title is the answer. And you've also got the all of the Ring of Honor belts and stuff going on. So definitely no need for more belts. But I think you can assign belts to brands now. And I mean, I say all this, WWE, there's plenty of videos you'll find on our channel of me having to go at the way WWE do their belts and weak brand splits. If they do this, which I think they're going to, they need to be strong in a brand split. And I think it'd be a great chance to show WWE how to do a draft, because I think that's probably going to be the next step, surely. Yeah, if they're announcing the second brand, it makes complete sense for them to do a draft to decide who's on what brand. That's kind of the obvious next stage. So interesting to see what they do. And just also on the Miro and Thunder Rosa coming back, that's fine, but I think they could have spread that out over 3 or 4 weeks, get a bit of planning, and so it's a bit more subtle than both of them arriving on the same night and then literally minutes later Tony Khan said, I've got an announcement next week. Like, it's not a very subtle way to do all of this. I think it could have been done slightly better, but the end outcome is exactly the right call. The roster on AW is huge, so much needed. Just scrolling through the rest of the show, we had a backstage segment with Chris Jericho and Roderick Strong, who have a Falls Count Anywhere match booked for next week. Both of them got legal cancel and had Adam Cole suspended from the arena, and Roderick Strong has done the same thing with JAS. So this is going to be a one-on-one Falls Count Anywhere, everyone banned. Now, obviously, there's going to be some kind of shenanigans to get involvement. There's a Falls Count Anywhere match, you're going to have something going on. But yeah, just a good way to further the feud with Cole and Jericho, which is, again, another great, this is like a third, fourth tier feud on AW right now. and it is Adam Cole v Chris Jericho. That is a massive. That is like a number one top of the card feud. So the strength of AEW's roster is being shown there. Well, so we've got the International Championship match where Orange Cassidy retained against Daniel Garcia. It was a really good match, actually. Orange Cassidy, this run with the International Championship and his defending it every single week has been brilliant. Honestly, Orange Cassidy is probably my favorite wrestler in AEW right now. I love Orange Cassidy. He is doing such a good job. He went stale for a bit after the novelty wore off of him, hands in the pockets and not bothering. That novelty wore off a little bit and he got a bit repetitive and he just things with Danhausen and it all got a bit silly for a little bit. But I think he's on the roll of his life. He's having great matches. He is defending that title every single week, like doing amazing to just keep retaining the title. And the story's been told really well where he injured his hand, so he can't quite do the Superman punch as much. So he finds different ways to win matches. And that's, I really think the storytelling of Orange Cassidy over however long this stretch of time has been, 10 weeks of constant retentions, has been brilliant. And they've also, the challenges, some of them have been a bit random, but some of them have made sense. And like they followed on from the Bandido one, this Daniel Garcia. And then to follow on from this match, we had Christian Cage coming out after and basically have a interview with Tony Schiavone about the TNT title. Christian Cage with a bit of having to go at Arn Anderson mainly, not so much Wardlow. Talking about dad issues in AEW, which I guess is all right. So because he had the Jungle Boy story now, Arn Anderson involved. So if I think this was pretty good. I think Christian v Wardlow's an interesting match. I'd have actually preferred to see Luchasaurus v Wardlow, but yeah, Christian being the heel that he is, yeah, interesting one. There's not really much else to say on that one. I think that's, again, this is a very lower of the card feud, and it's not bad. Wardlow, Christian Cage. Christian Cage was fighting for world titles at one point, and so was Wardlow, or in that picture. So not bad for like a bottom of the card feud. We also had a no holds barred match between Anna JAS and Julia Hart, which was okay. No holds barred, some interesting spots, and in the end, Julia Hart forced Anna J to tap out, which was a fine match. Nothing wrong with it. Like it's fine. It's just they talk about them being best friends back in, they've always been best friends, Anna J and Julia Hart, but on TV they haven't really been. And it's wrestling sometimes where they're real life best friends, but it's not on screen best friends. Then they have a feud, and then the company tries to be like, oh yeah, these two are best friends. They've always been best friends. But if you don't show us that, then we're not going to care as much because we're not emotionally invested in their friendship. And I really struggle with Anna J at the moment. I can't take her character seriously. Not doing a good job portraying the character, or it's just not the right character for her. But her, not necessarily on this show, but you'll see her backstage in previous weeks with her awkward looking for someone to choke out, and it's like it's so forced and it feels so fake that I just don't. Whereas Julia Hart, I think, is playing her part brilliantly. But Anna JAS, I think, isn't really clicking for me much at all. And then two other things quickly on the card. I knew someone was lined up for Orange Cassidy next. Carl Fletcher from Aussie Open laid out Orange Cassidy backstage. Whether that leads to anything more. So they've got a international championship match within the next week, I'm sure. But whether that leads to Will Ospreay, Orange Cassidy, for the international championship in the UK, I'm sure Will Ospreay will be there. I think it could be a good, him winning the international championship in the UK could be a good one. And any other match we haven't mentioned yet is the World Trios Championship, the open house match, where they have all these interesting stipulations. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but it got stipulations. And then the final stipulation is the challenging team gets to choose a stipulation. And basically, obviously, backstage, they forgot to pick one. So they just said, oh, no, which is at ringside, meaning Julia Hart. So we've got a 3-on-3. It's like a 20 count, isn't it? I can't remember all of them, but different lighting for this match, which I think is an interesting way to do it. I'm not quite sure it's the best idea. I think, to me, I get flashbacks of... remember Raw had the third hour was like a bit darker. I mean, also Raw had the what was it, the Raw Underground in the final hour, and I just think, and obviously the lights changing for Bray Wyatt matches, I'm not usually that keen on this happening. And obviously I'm assuming this open house stipulation only really works for House of Black. So like obviously their first couple are going to be obvious retentions for House of Black, just a way to get this match type over. I think they made a bit of a mistake by having the first like opportunity to create a extra stipulation and having the best friends just, you know, not bothered to even pick a stipulation. I wouldn't have done that for the first one. I'd have had someone pick a stipulation and seen what they can do. Now, I think there's some interesting stipulations that could be made, like some we'd never think of. So I think there's real potential of this match. I don't think this was the best way to do it. I personally wouldn't have dimmed the lights, and I wouldn't have had them not pick a stipulation, basically. But Bandito and Best Friends lost to House of Black with Brody King with the pinfall, who is booked very, very strongly. So yeah, that is it for this Dynamite. A quick run through some of my thoughts on the current feuds and just like a general message of positivity at the moment. AEW is hitting it out of the park, in my opinion, right now. I've just mentioned, 5 or 6 feuds there that I'm into all of them. And, you know, they've got, honestly, the roster's so stacked. The future looks really appealing with potential second brand and a roster split, or I'm completely, you know, spitballing a draft. I would presume, but there's stuff coming forward for AEW to be excited about. But before I leave you guys, I must tell you to like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. It helps us create the content for you guys. You know, we love creating the content, and just a like and subscribe goes a long way to helping out. Follow us on Twitter as well at Recharge Wrestle. We do a prediction league if you're new to the channel, with a prize at the end of the year to win a WWE t-shirt of your choosing. Now, it's only for WWE pay-per-views, but there's plenty of them coming up. We've got Night of Champions coming up. We've got Clash at the Castle, Money in the Bank, because it's in the UK. We've got a lot of pay-per-views coming up throughout the year. And yeah, last year we ran the same competition and we had a prize winner who posted with his t-shirt. So definitely worth doing if you're into, and just, you know, it's just a bit of fun, isn't it, prediction? So if you're into that kind of thing, give that a go. But yeah, we'll be back on the channel very soon reviewing another wrestling show or a wrestling topic. If you've got any suggestions of kind of content you'd want to see in terms of, I don't know, debates, quizzes, whatever, you know, you guys like seeing, let us know. We're kind of free and kind of go to flow. Whatever you guys want to see, we'll try and make happen. So yeah, get involved there. Comment below your thoughts on this AEW Dynamite this week, and what you know, your thoughts on my thoughts. Maybe you think I'm way off some places. You know, let me know. I'm always up for a wrestling discussion. And yeah, we will see you very soon. Bye-bye.